All right, everybody. So today we're going to talk about a quick concept, which is called the 80-20 concept. So this has a couple different foundational elements to it. So as a leader, when you get to the point where you're in a position where you're building a team, when you're leading other individuals, one of the biggest mistakes I see new leaders make is they spend about 80% of their time with their worst individuals. They are trying to lift up the bottom 20% instead of getting the most out of the top 20%. What I've found in business is that where your most time should be spent, about 80% of your time should be spent on your top 20% of your people. So if you've got 10 people, in general, you should be spending 80% of your time with your number one and your number two person. Now, the question would be for you is, how do I determine who my number one and who my number two person is? And I think the answer to that is going to be more up to you. One of the other mistakes I would see organizations make is they think that the best producer is typically the best person who gets the next role. For me, that's one of the biggest mistakes I've seen companies make, which is they just take their top seller and they make them their sales manager. They take their top performer, they make them their leader. A top performer does not resolve into being the best leader of that team. So for us, why here at Spinwheel, we look for personality traits and we look for characteristics. We look for people, as you guys know, who have thick skin. We look for people, as you guys know, have a student mentality and who are self-aware. Now that student mentality and self-awareness becomes evident, not just when you're trying to be great, but it becomes even more evident once you are that number one or number two, or you are in that top 20%, because that's when your shift of focus changes from being excellent at the job that you have and starting to work on wanting to be excellent at the job that you want. So that old saying of dress for the job you want, not the job you have, is really where that factor comes into play. And so as a leader, when you're looking at your team and you're assessing your team, you should always be looking to lift up your top 20%. They should be the people that you are grooming to be your next leaders. They should be the people that you are looking to build your team around. Those top 20% should absolutely be in every category what good looks like. So if you're a sales organization, they should be the person not just making the most sales, but doing the best talking inside the group, leading others like a leader. They are doing the actions that result into the outcome, because when you have your best performers being the model example, then the rest of your team is going to lift up. Now, in that top 20%, I also want you to pay attention to the bottom 20%, because that bottom 20% should be what you're trying to either improve or replace at all times. And we want to be lifting the ship so high, because the water is going so high, our level is going so high that the bottom 20% just can't keep up. Now, look, my goal here is to never fire anybody. We want to make everybody better. We want to make everybody the next man or the next woman up. But the reality is, if we're building a strong team, we need to focus on the top 20%, elevate the next 60%, and then understand we're probably going to try to replace the bottom 20%. So if you look at it as a 20-60-20 rule, that's the way I like to look at it. Historically, I've heard of the 80-20 rule, spending 80% of your time with the top 20%. That's great. But I like to look at it in different tiers. You've got the top 20, you got the next 60, you got the bottom 20. The top 20, I am building into be my next leader. It's not my best performer. It is my next leader and my next leader behind that. And then from there, I am grooming consistency around performance, consistency around communication, showing the characteristics of student mentality. And those people are the ones that are building and growing up. But where you want to always make sure is when you as a leader think you've got a person that's ready to be promoted, when that question comes and you ask all of your peers, who should be promoted. If their answer doesn't align with your answer, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and identify, did you select the person that has the respect of their peers? And if not, you're probably focusing on developing the wrong things. Good luck.